Happy Friday, guys. Hope everyone's had a good day and a good week as well so far. So tomorrow it is Everton versus Arsenal, 12:30 p.m. kickoff at Goodison Park, and I cannot wait for that one. But first, just want to reflect briefly on Wednesday night's quarter-final cup tie and the heartbreak to go from 2-0 down, obviously, at half-time, to get it back to 2-2 with a last-gasp, quintessential, beautiful left-footed strike from Leighton Baines, rolled back the years and sent Goodison just into absolute chaos. Like, I haven't celebrated a goal like that for a good long time. I ended up stood on my seat, hugging everyone. It was just limbs. The roof nearly came off, didn't it? And obviously Davis with an excellent goal with 20 minutes to go as well. So it was heartbreaking to obviously then get the game to penalties when seemingly we were down and out. And then of course Pickford saves really well from Maddison with his first penalty, with Leicester's first penalty, and you're hopeful then that we're going to go on to win the game. We didn't. Of course, Cenk steps up for us first, has his saved, and then Leighton Baines, of all people, who you bet your house on pretty much to put it away from the spot, has his save from Schmeichel. And I've got to say as well, I think John Moss took the piss a little bit with how he allowed Schmeichel to be so in the face of all our penalty takers. But if that's going to be the case, I'd rather have seen Jordan give it back to them. It just seemed to... But it is what it is, you know, absolutely gutted. Can't pretend not to be, especially when you then see the draw against Aston Villa. And of course, that's over 2 legs. So you look at that and you're hopeful that we would have gone on to get a place in the final. But we're not in the draw. We weren't in the draw. We did get knocked out and it was heartbreaking. But obviously we've got a game tomorrow to bounce back from. I think that just quickly on the game as well, it was just frustrating. The first half was so poor. We just didn't show up for the first half. And then, of course, that has a knock-on effect to the fans. The fans aren't as up for it. We were also kicking towards Gladys in the first half, which I hate, being superstitious with that. And it seems to always, you know, there's always seems to be a bad result when that happens. But we can't make excuses for that. First half was really poor. Second half was so much better. And it was good to see that Duncan Ferguson brought on Moise Keane for the entire second half. And he did have a positive impact. He was clearly playing for the shirt. He was clearly playing for the manager. So whatever had gone on, that's clearly water under the bridge. And yeah, he did well, to be fair to the lad. I think he put in a good performance, and at one point delivered a really good ball from the right-hand side that Calvert-Lewin could arguably do a bit better with, but it wasn't to be. Calvert-Lewin, though, did score his penalty, and Holgate with a belter of a penalty, but we did go out 4-2 on penalties in the end, and it was heartbreaking. But just on that game, obviously we were a depleted side at the moment in terms of injuries, and what it means for injuries tomorrow. I'm still not sure what injuries we're going to have, who's going to be available and not. Ferguson did say, he was pretty vague, but he did say in the press conference that there is still illness amongst the camp. Obviously we know that Delph had been missing, Walcott with his calf, Schneidlin had been missing, Gylfi Sigurdsson, and I think Sidibe had illness. There's just been so many. But Holgate, I think, having played that sort of central midfield role in the last couple of games, has done really, really well. I think he deserves enormous credit, and I think Tom's done well as well for the main part, and I was made up for him with his goal. There's obviously, we always talk about Tom, and you're always in the ground, wherever you sit in Goodison, you always know that there's people who've like totally back him, and then you've always got a few that are just on his case all the time. But I was made up to see him get a goal. So yeah, ultimately heartbreak. Was gutted for Goodison. Well, I was gutted for Goodison. I was gutted for Duncan. I was gutted for Bainesy, and players like Coleman, and actually thinking how great it would be to see them maybe reach Wembley in what could be their last year at Everton. But it wasn't to be. We have still got the FA Cup in a few weeks' time against them lot. So we'll have to go all out there to push on and do as well in that competition as we can. But yeah, tomorrow it is Duncan Ferguson in charge. Despite all this talk, and I think we're all just kind of dying for something to happen now, aren't we, in terms of the new manager appointment. And it's been since really, I think it was Tuesday when Sky Sports broke the news that a deal had been agreed in principle for Carlo Ancelotti to become Everton manager for the next 4 years or something like that. And then, of course, all the other main media outlets are saying the same. But you don't believe it until it's done, until the club come out and say it's done and we see him there with a shirt and whatever else, a contract, like, then it's hard not to, obviously as fans you're going to be excited. Certainly most Evertonians that I've spoke to, bar maybe a couple of comments I'd seen on Twitter or something, everyone that I've chatted to that I know would be absolutely ecstatic if we were to appoint Ancelotti as manager. I think it would be our biggest ever appointment in the club's history, I think it's fair to say, in terms of, you know, actually appointing him, because he's won 3 European Cups, he's been manager of the biggest and the best clubs across Europe, he's managed some of the best players in the world. He's a winner. He's got that power in his name. He commands and demands respect, and I think it would just be such a powerful statement. We've seen a lot of managers, obviously, over the last few years since David Moyes, and none of them have worked out. So yeah, looks like if this comes off, the club have gone right. Well, let's go all out. Whatever the cost, it's ultimately going to be worth the investment to bring in someone fantastic. Look what it did for Manchester City. You know, they had all this money, like us, had spent it without it coming to fruition, but they had managers like Mark Hughes, and you know, they then brought in Mancini, and with that they started to attract the biggest names in football. And you know, we saw them go on to obviously win titles, etc. So I'm not saying we're going to win a title in the next 2 years, but you know, it's certainly a big, bold move in the right direction, and for me anyway, and for most people I've spoken to, and I think it'd be an excellent coup for the club. And then we've seen links of Zlatan come in as well, if it's him, and you just start to go, ah! So again, if it comes off, I'm having a party. It would just be absolutely fantastic, but we will have to wait and see. Tomorrow, though, it is all about the Arsenal game, and as I said, in terms of injuries and stuff, I don't know who's actually going to be back for Everton. Duncan Ferguson was quite vague about it, but Baines, he's done really well since he's come in, although we do miss Luca Dean's, you know, in his pace, I'd say, in that position, but I think Baines has done well. We've missed Sidibe down the right, no disrespect to Coleman either, but yeah, there's some big players that we've been missing. It would be good to see a Fabian Delph, you know, come back in as well, despite the lads doing all right in the midfield, just that bit of experience and class in there. I think we'll probably go 4-4-2 again, which you want to see, obviously. Calvert-Lewin's been like a new player recently, totally different player. So I think he will cause Arsenal. We know how fragile they are at the back. So I think him and Richarlison, if it's those two up top, could cause real havoc. We'll have to see if Gylfi Sigurdsson is fit and if he's even back in the side. Or whether, is he going to go for Iwobi in the number 10, Bernard on the left? We'll wait and see if Walcott's back. I don't know. So it's all just speculation. But want to see us go 4-4-2. Want to see us go at Arsenal, because as I said, and try and expose their weak defence. They have, of course, appointed Mikel Arteta as the new manager, but it will be Freddie Ljungberg in charge tomorrow, which I'm pleased about. I mean, no disrespect to him, but it's obviously not worked out for him as caretaker manager. There may still well be the new manager bounce from the announcement of Arteta, even though he's not actually going to be in charge tomorrow. So, we might see a slightly more buoyant Arsenal. They, of course, got battered in their last game against City, totally played off the park, and they'll be looking to make, to bounce back. And I think their next couple of fixtures after us are really tough as well. So they'll see this as they'll want to get the win here, but we'll want to get the win, no doubt, especially if it's Dunc's last game. I think they've got injury concerns of their own as well. Ozil, I think is unlikely. Same with Hector Bellerin. Kieran Tierney's out for definite. There was quite a few. I can't even think off the top of my head now, but they certainly have got a few injuries themselves, Arsenal. So it's not just us in that boat. But no, I think we'll see us go all out for that tomorrow to get the win. It's what Duncan deserves. It was a good press conference from him today. I liked what he had to say. I liked what he had to say when he was asked about what he'd learned in his time as manager. And he said that he's learned that he's happy to make a decision. He's never going to shirk responsibility when it comes to things like that. And we clearly saw that. I think he was obviously referring to the Moise Kean incident where he was subbed on and off at Old Trafford last week. But him playing that second half against Leicester on Wednesday proved that that's all sorted. And you know, he has got a set of balls, and you need that. You need that, especially in football the way it is now, with various factors like player power, etc., which I think you'll get in elements everywhere. You know, he's clearly galvanised the players. They clearly got a lot of respect for him, and they've played for him, and they've played well. And he said one of the things that makes him most proud is how the players have responded to his passion, and also how it's brought everyone back together. I liked what he said. You know, obviously he knows this club, he knows this city, he knows what it means, and that it's like family. And it was so, you know, fractured and broken and damaged, and in that short 2 weeks or whatever he's really brought everyone back together. The players and the fans have got, you know, a much healthier and good relationship going on over the last couple of weeks, which is interacting and feeding us both off each other, which is great, and what we want, especially at Goodison. It's our home. It's no greater feeling than when we're all together like that. So I know we'll see it like that again tomorrow. And Duncan's done exceptionally, and he was being pressed quite a lot on Ancelotti, and he had a little wry smile on his face at a couple of points. But whether that be he's smiling because he knows something, or smiling to sort of say to the journalist, "If you ask me this again," kind of thing. I wouldn't want to push him in an interview, that's for sure. But he said obviously names like that is fantastic. He wants the best here. Everton's a massive football club. But he did say, and very serious, obviously, when he said this as well, he was like, nobody knows the players better than me. Nobody. He's known them for years, worked with them for years. So he said, I'd like to think whoever it is, you know, would use me and keep me as part of the coaching staff. And I think he's more than made a case for himself, and he looks like he'd go on to. I know it's hard to judge over a few games, but certainly who could have expected us unbeaten in the games that we've had? Leicester, United away, and Chelsea have all been, you know, Old Trafford's never an easy place to go, and they've been in a rich run of form, and Chelsea and Leicester, two fantastic sides. So he's done incredible, and he deserves a place, you know, I'd say, you know, an important place as well in the coaching staff. I think he's earned that, and I think he deserves it. And I think Everton needs a bit of that. Everton always needs. We are that kind of club that we need someone in there, not just for sentimental values, but someone who understands us as fans and how to get us involved. Because